Now, still more to come on Wicklow this week. Send us a text 087 77 11 103. I didn't think I'd be saying this, but Minister for Health Simon Harris, good morning.
Good morning, Niall. How are you?
Did you sleep much last night?
I did once the shock was absorbed, and I did, and I'm relishing the challenge ahead. We had a very late evening last night because, as you know, the Dáil was debating cabinet appointments and the appointment of the government till quite late, I think till about 10:30 or so, and then there was a vote on that, and then those of us in the new cabinet had to travel to the Oris to receive our seals of office from President Higgins, and then to have the brief first cabinet meeting in the Oris. So it was probably about 2 a.m. by the time all of that was done, and I was back in Greystones. But
and will you talk us through, we all expected you to be given the promotion to cabinet. There was a lot of talk maybe about jobs or even social protection. Talk us through the moment you got the phone call from the Taoiseach's official, you were asked to come up the ministerial corridor, and then what did Enda Kenny say to you?
Well, the Taoiseach said to me, "Are you up for a challenge?" I said, "Taoiseach, I always am." And he asked me would I take up responsibility as Minister for Health. And whilst I won't lie, I was surprised and shocked. The more I thought about it, the more excited I am about the prospect. I got involved in politics through my work as a disability advocate, through my establishment of an autism support group here in County Wicklow, the Wicklow AAA Alliance. I was the cross-party convener on the mental health group in the last Dáil, supported by Amnesty and then Mental Health Reform. And I suppose as a member of the Public Accounts Committee, and then as a Minister of State in the Department of Finance and Public Expenditure and Reform, I've had significant opportunities to interact with the HSE, to see how the HSE budget works insofar as people can, to question health officials at the Public Accounts Committee. So it's a massive role. It's a really challenging role. It's one I wasn't expecting when I woke up and ate my cornflakes yesterday morning, but it's one that I am really looking forward to doing. But I mean, my very clear message on day one in the job is this: little old me is not going to solve the problems in the Irish Health Service on my own, and I want to work with everybody and anybody to try and address the challenges. I think this country has shown that when it puts its mind to some of the greatest challenges facing the country, we can have great results. Look at what the Irish people did in terms of a Northern Ireland peace process. Look at what the Irish people did in terms of creating an economic recovery and getting rid of the Troika and getting the country back on track. If the Irish people, if all politicians, if all stakeholders will now put their mind to that same approach to actually our health service. Let's say we are going to work so hard together to put a long-term plan in place for the health service. We're not going to play party politics with it. We're not going to argue through the media. I'm not going to be negotiating as Minister for Health through the media. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to listen. I'm going to work with people. And I see my role as being a facilitator, as being somebody that can bring people together, that can listen to people, and can try and do my very best. And I'm really excited about it. It's going to be, but I'm not in any way naive about this significant challenge that this is going to be.
But I mean, Simon, as you well know, this job it's likened to the most difficult job in Irish politics. I think it was Mary Harney who described it as Angola. I mean, you are taking on a role that so many before you seem to fail in.
But look, this is one of the greatest honours. You get involved in politics to try and make a positive impact. Name me another department or another policy area that has the ability to make such a great impact on people's lives if we get it right. There are great things that happen in our health service every day of the week, and there are significant challenges in our health service, really significant challenges, and we all hear the stories, we meet the people, we know the people that spend too long on trolleys, that wait too long for appointments, and I'm not coming on EastCoastFM this morning with some sort of magic wand or naive view that I can fix all that. But what I am telling the people of Ireland is that I am coming to this role with an intention to bring massive energy and enthusiasm. I don't view this as Angola. I view this as the greatest challenge of my life and something that I'm really excited and enthused about. But let me say this. I expect to be held to account by the Dáil. I expect to be questioned. I expect to be put under pressure. I expect to be an accountable Minister for Health. But I also want to approach this not in a Punch and Judy way. We need a political consensus around health. We need all of our politicians to come together. Let's as I say, accept that the health service and getting the health service right is one of the greatest societal challenges this country faces, and let's get all our politicians to agree to try and come up with a plan. We won't agree on everything, but however long this government is in office for, it'll ultimately be followed by another government, which will be followed by another government. You cannot run health policy and the health service on, a couple of years long policy. We've got to try and generate a long-term plan, a political consensus insofar as it's possible. And as I say, we've done it in other policy areas. Why not try and do it in health? So my message to anybody out there who may end up being a party spokesperson on health in the Dáil is, come talk to me and let's work together. We won't agree on everything, but let's try and get this right.
And of course, you're only in the job a few hours, so we won't get bogged down with policy. But listeners will be very much aware of this row over the maternity hospital in recent days, and you've obviously been brought up to speed on that. How are you going to approach that issue first of all?
Well, look, the outgoing government or the last government put in place funding to provide a new maternity hospital. And let's take away the bureaucracy, let's take away the rows and the fiefdoms here. What's this about? This is about building a new maternity hospital to make sure we can deliver the safest possible service for expectant mothers in this country. That's what I want to do. I think that's what all your listeners want to do. And my message very clearly is to anybody involved in this row that I'm reading about in the newspapers, put your egos to one side, get in a room and sort this out. This cannot be tied up in bureaucracy. The people of Ireland, the expected mothers of Ireland, do not care about your bureaucratic rows. What they want to know is that expectant mothers can have their babies in safe services here. We need a new maternity hospital. I absolutely support the excellent work being done by Rona Mahoney and others. I will stand with those trying to deliver excellent maternity services. But what I will not do is allow the possibility of delivering a new maternity hospital to be jeopardised by rows over governance and fiefdoms. That must end. And they need to get in the room together and they need to sort it out. Because my predecessor, Leo Varadkar, made it very clear the funding's in place for this, but the funding needs to be spent or that funding isn't there forever. So get this sorted, and I look forward to trying to again be a facilitator in getting this sorted, because the people of Ireland will not stand for some bureaucratic row jeopardising potentially the delivery of safe maternity services for the expectant mothers in this country.
Just before we finish up, you're listening to the new Minister for Health, Simon Harris, on Wicklow this week. You mentioned, Simon, your predecessor, Leo Varadkar. Has he been given the boot by the Taoiseach and to pave the way for you?
Absolutely not. Leo Varadkar is not just a political friend of mine, he's a personal friend of mine. He is one of the most reforming and competent individuals I know in Irish politics. He brought that zest to the Department of Health, to the Department of Transport, and now he'll bring it to the Department of Social Protection. I don't think there's been a social protection minister from my own party for quite a long time back. I think you have to go back about 30 years. And I've no doubt that Leo will approach that role with great energy. And I really look forward to having discussions with him about his experiences in the Department of Health and any advice he can offer me. I'm very much in listening mode.
There was a couple of texts in for you, and look, we will give you leverage in terms of answering too many questions. Very briefly, minimum pricing on alcohol. You're aware of the merits of that legislation. Are you going to stick by it?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into negotiating any policy on radio this morning until I fully read myself into the brief, till I've heard views for and against. But we have an issue with alcohol in this country. We need to try to work together to sort it, and I think legislation will be required in that regard, and I'll be examining all of these policy areas and making my policy positions very clear on them in the coming days.
Simon Harris, congratulations, and
thank you very much.
Thanks very much for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you.
It's Minister for Health, Simon Harris. Well, just before